The 390 Duke has always been a real-life example of the David and Goliath story. That admittedly small-looking bike from KTM packs a far larger punch than its dimensions, or cubic capacity for that matter, suggest. On road and on track, it could put some bigger bikes to shame. In fact, it has even inspired fear in riders that were not primed for how manic it could get. And now, as we are standing in front of its evolution, we can feel an inkling of that fear taking bloom inside of us. Because the 2017 390 Duke looks ready to bite your head off. This bike is sharp as a chef's knife. There are lots of lines, angles and pointy ends everywhere, so much so that this bike might as well have come from the sets of Terminator 3. The split headlight unit up front looks like an inverted pitchfork and houses all LED headlamps and daytime running lamps. Crowning the headlamp unit is an all-new TFT color instrument display that can connect to your smartphone and stream, control phone calls and audio. The fuel tank is also all new. It's built out of steel and capable of holding up to 13.5 liters. As with the Duke 250, which we reviewed a week back, the fuel tank is more vertical and forward inclined than before, empowering the 390 with a more purposeful, more aggressive and ready for action stance. Underneath the tank is the bright orange trellis frame that we have come to associate with the Dukes. It has been modified for the new 390 and now features an exposed bolt-on subframe. The subframe beautifully disappears under the pillion seat, portraying the 390 Duke as a wonderful sum of its parts. Other cosmetic changes include a simpler underbelly pan, a side-slung exhaust, as opposed to the erstwhile underbelly unit, and newly designed seats. The 390 Duke is quite the looker on the whole. It looks raw, ready, mean and even deadly. It looks built for purpose. The 2017 390 Duke is powered by the same 373cc, liquid-cooled, single-cylinder unit as its predecessor, with the power figure unchanged at 43.5 horsepower at 9,000 revolutions per minute and peak torque bumped up by 2 Nm to 37 Nm at 7,000 revolutions per minute. The torque bump has been facilitated by the use of a larger airbox. Other powertrain changes include the addition of ride-by-wire throttle. On track, you immediately notice the effect of the ride-by-wire throttle. The opening, closing and modulation of your throttle is wonderfully smoothened out, giving you much more control over the manner and quantum of power delivery. And speaking of power delivery, you have access to a whole lot of power at almost any point in the rev range, though it is most concentrated in the middle, between 4,500 and 8,500 revolutions per minute. Stay in that power band and you will either have a grin or the God have mercy look plastered on your face. Getting to the power band is not much of a task either. The short gearing ensures that twisting the throttle sends their digital tacho needle spinning madly towards the red. The limiter will cut you off at 10,500 revolutions per minute, but until then, there is no abating in power delivery or that loud, raucous exhaust note. The 390 does not feel very comfortable in lower revs, which might be an issue in traffic, but a final verdict on that will have to wait till we conduct our road test. The suspension setup has been upgraded too. While the front suspension still consists of WP manufactured 43mm upside-down forks, they now come with open cartridge technology. The rear suspension, meanwhile, continues to consist of a WP manufactured monoshock that is preload adjustable. At low speeds, the ride, as tested on a patch of rumblers and paver blocks, is a bit jarring, though things smoothen out considerably as you pick up pace. Bigger ditches are best handled at a crawling pace. Also improved is the stopping power. The 390 Duke now comes with a Biber 320mm front disc, as compared to its predecessor's 300mm disc, chomped on by radially bolted 4-piston caliper and a 230mm rear disc bitten by a single piston floating caliper, armed with switchable 2-channel Bosch developed ABS. The braking is forward biased and is mighty effective, as necessitated by the engine's massive firepower. The ABS2 has received an upgrade. It gets 3 modes now: off, road and supermoto. The off mode, obviously, implies that the ABS is turned off, while road implies that ABS is functional in the front and back. The supermoto mode keeps only the front ABS on while switching the rear off, for those who want to have some fun. The 390 Duke rides on Metzeler M5Is as before. However, the speed rating on these tires has gone down from W to H, which means they are good for speeds up to 210 kph. Nevertheless, the tires provide good levels of grip. And finally, we come to the seating position. The seat is slightly higher than before and the foot pegs are pushed back a bit, making for a more comfortable seating position. It is still very upright, perfect for urban riding and less cramped than before. However, there is one important caveat: the 2017 390 Duke is just not as raw and manic as its predecessor. While the fact that it is more manageable will considerably widen its appeal and make it generally more usable, those who enjoyed the "I will bite your head off" attitude of the older 390 will certainly find it in short supply.